Mike Crowley of You'll Probably Agree, welcome to the 9,000th possible series on Kicking the Seat. I'm calling this one Awfully Great because we're going to be talking about, we'll see if this gets past one installment, but I at least want to talk about a movie that turns 30 years old this year that I think is both an awful film and a tremendous movie, not a guilty pleasure because I don't believe in those. We are talking about Vanilla Ice's vehicle, not his bike, but the movie Cool as Ice.
Cool as now, yeah. What a great usage of my $5 on Amazon Prime. But
more like $15 on Amazon.
Oh my God. See, what I should have done was look for a bootleg.
No, this I haven't listened to. There's an audio commentary on here, not by Vanilla Ice, but I think by a couple of critics, plus the trailer, which don't let me forget, I have some things to say about the trailer for this movie. But you had seen this movie before, like once, but it had been a while.
Well, when I was growing up, Vanilla Ice was sort of like the funniest thing. Like, me and a friend of mine would look up. There's this one song that I cut of his called "I Love You," and it's like of a music video where he's like on a phone booth talking to a girl, although she's inside the phone booth and he's outside of it. But the whole song is like, "It's because I love you, the way you do that smile." Anyways, I recut that song, but with the audio backwards, with like images that matched what he said or sounded like he was trying to say. And I have to now find that video. It's somewhere on one of my hard drives from I don't know how many years ago. But yeah,
if you find that and put it up like on YPA or something, I will link the hell out of that.
Okay,
that sounds amazing.
Now I gotta get a lot of adapters that go to USB-C because Apple sucks.
No argument there. But no, I saw this probably for the first time. I think it was within the last 10 years. I don't know what compelled me to watch it, but I did, and it really changed my life. I think I saw this the same year as I watched The Human Centipede Part 2. Just two movies that broke my brain wide open.
Two movies where you could tell there was another member attached to something. In this case, Vanilla Ice's bike that didn't want to be there.
Well, look, that bike, it looks like something out of like a Tron sequel. It's amazing, but
I have so many questions when watching this movie. It's just,
well, we will get into all of them because this is going to be part movie review, part just adoration on my part, and part whatever you want to make it, because I don't know how you actually feel about this. I know you finished watching it yesterday, but we'll get into all of it. So the movie is essentially, it's like Rebel Without a Cause meets Say Anything, but with Vanilla Ice and his black posse in this small white town that is simultaneously, it's geographically strange because it's like the country, it's like 10 minutes from the city, but it's also like 2 minutes from this vast expanse of endless desert. What's going on with this town?
Are they might be somewhere in Nevada for all we know, but even then, how are they? Yeah, they could be like in a suburb of Nevada, but it was weird. There's so many sequences where you could tell they didn't have a script. And I mean, kudos for you for even drawing a comparison to Rebel Without a Cause or something like that. I mean, to me, it just felt like, okay, here's a script where things happen and then put in the music video segment portion. Like, we don't know what to do. Have Vanilla Ice and what's the name of the girl in the movie? Kristen Minter or
Kathy. She goes. He calls her Cat.
Yeah, hey Cat. Yeah. So like there's like sequences where they're randomly dancing, or they're not even sitting like in a desert. They're just sitting in a bunch of like barren rock wasteland staring at something, and then they're in a half-constructed house running around because obviously the director is like, I don't know, just run around, film in slow motion. We have Spielberg cinematographer. We can do it.
That was the eye opener. I had forgotten that Janusz Kaminski, Saving Private Ryan. This was 2 years after he made this movie. He made freaking Schindler's List.
Hey, all you can do is fail upwards in Hollywood, and that's how it works.
But you know, that's the thing though, is watching this movie, it does have it is much more visually interesting to look at than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
And the performances, Michael Gross from Family Ties, you know, Mr. Keaton himself, plays the disapproving dad, and he's also the center of this weird subplot where he and his wife, played by Candy Clark, they were in the witness protection program because when he was a rookie cop in the big city, his partner was crooked and he testified against him, so they went into witness relocation. The two of the other cops that, you know, got busted, who are out now, come to collect money that he thinks that they're owed. But his scenes where he's trying to keep his daughter away from the goon and talking about his previous life, he's acting the hell out of those scenes. And it's really impressive. There's a shot where he gets off the phone with the bad guys and the camera kind of tracks around him as he puts the phone back on the hook. And, you know, you can see he's trying to figure out what his next move, how he's going to compose himself in front of his family. I'm like, this is masterful. What is this doing in a Vanilla Ice movie?
Because, I mean, oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, that was my coworker. Yeah, I should have actually put a light on. But no, it's amazing because you can see there's a lot of shots that are pretty interesting in there. Like there was the mob guy played by, I don't know the actor's name, but he was like the police chief in Rescue Me. And he like when he comes into the house and abducts the little kid. I mean, it's a 30-year-old movie, or how many years old? We're not really spoiling.
Oh yeah,
and it's a Vanilla Ice movie. What is there to spoil? They sing a song and shake their ass a little bit and do a dance.
They also schling a schlong. I don't know if you caught that reference, but wow.
No, but I'm sure they were doing it. First off, what were they even doing in that neighborhood? Like they just had this half-constructed house with like newspaper clippings for architecture inside.
You have to watch the trailer for this movie because it fills in a lot of the information that the movie itself didn't bother to. What I got was, okay, so the movie opens with Vanilla Ice and Naomi Campbell for some reason singing this song in a club. It's like the kind of club that Patton Oswalt would make fun of shooting music videos in the 80s. It was like an abandoned warehouse with lots of giant fans and like chain link fences for some reason, and, you know, blue light and smoke, and they're just rapping. They get on their bikes and they drive out to the country. But the one guy, no, what happened was Vanilla Ice sees a girl, Kathy, riding a horse in a field. He rides alongside of her and flips the bike, or he runs the bike over the fencing. She falls off the horse. He gets up and he's like, she's all mad. He's like, "What's your problem?" I don't know. He just tried to kill me.
Like Christopher Reeve. I mean,
this was just a few years before that, actually. But so one of their bikes.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, they get into this town because I think one of their bikes breaks down or there's a problem with it. So they take it to. They wind up in front of this crazy Tim Burton looking hippie house, and it's owned by these two hippie mechanics, one of whom we've talked about before, Sidney Lassick. He was
Lassick or LASIK, tomato. Yeah.
I don't know. He looked like he had eye surgery, but no, he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Carrie and a bunch of other movies. So he and his weird wife, so it's May and Roscoe, they are allegedly mechanics, and they're like, yeah, we can fix your bike. They completely take apart one of Ice's crew's bike, like they break into a million pieces to put it back together again. So this gang is now stuck in this small town for an indeterminate amount of time, and that's when, you know, Johnny, because of course his name's Johnny.
Ice, if you're white, your name has to be Johnny in a '90s movie.
Yes,
or if you're Tony Soprano's dad, you're Johnny Boy. Yeah.
Hey, we're not talking Many Saints of Newark yet.
Well, that's just part. That's from The Sopranos. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, is it? I don't know what I'm talking about either. I've only seen a comparative handful of The Sopranos. But so yeah, Johnny takes an interest in Kat. She of course has a jerk boyfriend played by John Hames Newton, who a few years earlier was the star of the Superboy TV show. He played Superboy, and now he's like the abusive, prejudiced boyfriend in this movie,
who has no idea how to use a baseball bat in a fight. He's like, let me wait until I hit you so you can grab me by the arm. Like, do these guys not know? Just gather them all in once and hit him with the bat.
No, in fairness though, his character looks like the kind of guy who would not know how to use a baseball bat in a fight.
Exactly, yeah.
That totally checks out, as the kids
Yeah,
say.
but like Vanilla Ice also looks like someone who wouldn't know how to use a baseball bat.
Vanilla Ice in this movie, he's like an alien and a superhero, because he's got the costume, like that giant black jacket with like white lettering all over it. You can see it on the poster. On the back of his collar, it just says, "Oh yeah." It's got like all of his catchphrases embroidered onto this jacket.
He is the 90s incarnate. Like everything that people thought was cool back then, we look at now, we're like, what the, like, this isn't even a spoiler. Like the ending shot of the movie, I think it was like Vanilla Ice. He jumps off of a ramp over a car and then lands. And then Kathy looks back like, yeah, that was cool. And then it ends. I'm like, wait, why? What was the point of that? But there's a lot of these moments where like things happen because they're cool, but we don't understand why they're happening in the story.
And that's
matter.
That's right. That's it. None of it matters. And I feel like that last shot you were talking about was almost an homage to Back to the Future, where the DeLorean like goes down the street and then it comes back and flies at the camera. Like it, I don't even think there was a ramp. I feel like, because I misremembered this, I thought he was actually going to run over the car, because I'm pretty sure the wheel gets up on the bumper, but then I guess he got enough momentum off of that to like go flying all ET style over the car. And Nick, aka Dick, is all like, yeah. That would be awesome.
Then it would be worth it if it just turns into Moonwalker.
Dude, he's like, yo, my bike's a spaceship, baby. And they just go flying off.
Joe Pesci like comes into the planet where he's at, but he's like his character for Moonwalker and makes it like Goodfellas.
Speaking of Joe Pesci, we do have these crooked cops are kind of like the Home Alone goons that we saw a couple years earlier. You got the tall kind of idiot guy, and you got the short, irascible guy. But they're also just very, very weird. They have this alternating sense of goofiness and like downright menace. Like they don't even know what movie they're in. Like they didn't hand me a script, so I'm just gonna make the audience believe I might actually kill someone, and now I'm just gonna talk about aliens.
Yeah, and it's also weird because like it's sort of like interchangeably like placed between funny and menacing, because like when they capture the kid, like I went off on a tangent as I always do and then forgot, but like the amazing thing is, because this was shot by Kaminski, is that you can see as they're following him around, like the natural use of lighting, like the thing Kaminski is really well known for is like he loves to have spools of light coming out from windows to kind of give this naturalistic look. And he was shooting that with like what you could tell is probably like a 14mm lens or something, real wide. So you kind of have this, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas kind of unsettling feel when you're capturing this kid. And like I'm actually scared during this scene. I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna like murder a kid in this movie? Like holy shit.
Well, there is that kind of an element to it, because they say, if your parents don't pay up, you're going to end up on a milk cart. I'm like, oh my god. But I do want to talk about the lighting, because that gets us back to the trailer. The lighting drove me nuts in this film, not so much because it wasn't gorgeous, but because from a story perspective, I had to wonder what Kathy and her family had against electricity, because there is no scene that takes place in that house, except for maybe the first one where they're all watching the local news, that there are any lights on. Like every conversation happens in the dark.
I gotta look up who directed this, because I feel like Janusz Kaminski is like, whatever, I get this soon done. Go on to better things. So he just like went on to like kind of shoot scenes however he wanted. And the director was like, yeah, oh wait, he directed 136 things, a lot of which are video shorts. Makes sense.
Yeah, but hold on a second. You're also talking about David Kellogg, the possibly award-winning director of 1999's Inspector Gadget.
I just saw that. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
He just kind of went like, yeah, that looks good. Yeah, like he probably didn't even take the script seriously. And who can blame him, I mean, I think halfway through, like when I was watching this movie, I'm like, is it because it's 2 a.m. and I'm tired? Or is it like, why are they dancing randomly to I get it's supposed to sell Vanilla Ice as a product, But then there's just so much inconsistent cinematography from like music video to horror film to like family, like kind of comedy slash drama. It's like it doesn't have a consistent visual tone throughout the whole thing.
Right. And that's another thing that I love about it. It's like
Yeah.
it's like at the same time they didn't care, but
Yeah.
it's so deliberately bad in so many different creative ways that you almost feel like it's deliberate somehow. But on that lighting issue, I went back and I watched the trailer for this movie because it's on the disc. I'm like, I wonder how they marketed this thing. All of the scenes, I think they went in, and I don't know anything about the art of filmmaking or post-production really, but it looks like they went in and artificially lightened up all of the scenes with the family. Because if you watch that trailer and then go to the movies, you might think the projector bulb burnt out, because it's like it's almost as if they turned on the lights and then reshot all of those scenes, because you can see everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because I remember seeing the trailer way back, but I didn't notice like it looked
Totally
difference at all, you know. All right, I don't want to see the trailer to respect. I think I saw like I think they connected respect to some car commercial. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just see it like refinance today with Ford. No, sorry, that was terrible. But yeah, the
REFIANC.
Ooh, I think you might be onto something. We might be onto something, Mike. We gotta sell this.
I think I gotta hit up her rep, and you know we gotta get some money going on that. It's weird. I'm looking at the trailer and like the lighting is a lot flatter, but is it the resolution?
No, it's just but look how bright it is, because like in the scenes where like the dad is talking to the daughter in the movie, those are like blue scenes because it's all dark. And in the trailer, it's everything has that kind of orange feel. Like they literally went and turned on the lights and say, okay, now let's try it this way. But
this could have been a lot of, oh yeah, like when they're by the house, like with or whatever it was, the construction site, whatever they were doing, like the lighting is a lot less orange, you know, it didn't have that PTA look to it. But yeah, I'm not sure. It could be the resolution of the trailer as well. We're not seeing it like the way it was actually represented. But it could be a case where they were going on that color wheel and just making adjustments during post at the last minute. There was this weird shot in Many Saints of Newark where like there's a reaction shot from Tony that's not in the final film. They stuck with a different over-the-shoulder shot with Dickie instead. So it's like one of those situations. You're like, oh, they changed that at the last second.
That's for the inevitable, you know, director's cut or the version you haven't seen home video incentive.
Yeah. Where they act like, no, that cutaway was there. That didn't happen.
So let's talk about, first of all, I want to mention, with one exception, and I don't know if this is a subtle commentary or the director's just not caring, but when Johnny and his gang roll into town, it's like him, I think 3 friends, all of whom are black. There might have been a 4th one. It doesn't matter because they are kind of interchangeable at some point. They all kind of like are just supporting characters. And you know, comedy characters.
Story other than like they're Vanilla Ice's friends.
Well, they do help in the end to, you know, in the big rescue, because they're helping to beat up the cops, right? So I think that's probably why they didn't just have Johnny rolling into town. He needed some kind of a posse. But and it's because it's Vanilla Ice, the idea of, you know, this kind of cultural appropriation thing. But this is like the flashiest, most fun, bizarre example of cultural appropriation I can think of, and I'm all for it. But they pull into town, they never leave that hippie house, except for, I think I should say, and then they never leave that hippie house without Johnny. Because when they're coming into town, and they make a big point of this in the trailer, like, it's small town America. They've got like the American flag, and everybody is like glaringly white, and they're all giving the disapproving looks like, oh my God.
Yeah, which I didn't get that when I saw that in the movie. Like they drive down the neighborhood and they're like, what's this? And they were staring at Vanilla Ice, you know, because he was like the blackest guy in that group, I guess. I don't know, amongst this racist white neighborhood.
But that was the thing, is like, it occurred to me towards the end of this film, like my God, they're all just hanging out at that house because like it's like if they go anywhere without Johnny, they feel like they're gonna get jumped or something.
They're gonna get lost inside the store and ask for their mom on the intercom or something. Yeah.
What?
Where's Vanilla Ice? I'm lost.
But yeah, so is Johnny an alien? I mean, because he doesn't appear to have gainful employment. I mean, we see him in the club at the end, singing, and Kathy's in the audience, but you just kind of get the feeling that's just almost like the end of not Wayne's World, but it's like they just have a concert out of for no reason.
It's one of those things like The Room. Like, we don't know if Tommy Wiseau is an alien or something like that. He behaves so differently. Like, I don't even know. Like, clearly that wasn't even Robert Van Winkle's real personality in those movies. That was sort of like a character he put on, I think, or maybe it was a phase in his life. But you're just kind of like listening to every line. Like, does he really say that? Like, does anyone really say this stuff?
I don't know, but I kind of want watching this movie. I wanted Vanilla Ice to be in like every movie, because this Johnny character, when he's offering his philosophy, was it ain't about where you're from, it's where you're at. You ain't true to yourself, you ain't true to nobody. I mean, I'm not doing it justice because I'm not going to pull an Aquafina and do the black scent, but he's just got this crazy wisdom and a devil may care attitude and an awesome bike and the ability to teleport, I guess, into teenage girls' rooms, because when Kat wakes up in the morning, he's just like laying there. And I guess maybe she left her window open, but I'm just like, no, seriously, how did you get in there without, I mean, he's got this bulky clothing and stuff, and he's a heavy, presence. He's not stealthily getting into a girl's room in the middle of the night.
I wonder, did I miss a scene? Because I know I went to the bathroom and came back, and then they're in there. So I don't know if they had like a one-night stand or something, but I don't know. Maybe he just sneaks into a woman's rooms like a pervert and just watches them sleep or something. I don't know what is going, but it was weird. And the funniest thing was, like, she's not even like, what are you doing in my house, breaking in? And then her brother is saying, are you like your boyfriend now? Cool. And he's like obsessed with everything Vanilla Ice does, because he's supposed to serve as the children watching how cool Vanilla Ice is. Well, but I will say these movies are really fun, especially like this. I was thinking when I was watching this would be like the perfect midnight venue music box film to show.
Yeah. I mean, I think people would be all about it. As far as that kid, I can imagine, much like Kat or Kathy, when you're living in that, no horse town, and your big prospects are, I'm going to maybe marry the town, jock because he's got a nice Trans Am. And then this guy shows up and he's got personality and friends and talent, and he's kind of oddly charming, but also oddly off-putting. So there's like that air of danger to him. I mean, I could understand I would sleep with Vanilla Ice from this movie. And I can understand the little kid being like, wow, he's got a motorcycle too. And I love it.
90s.
Yeah. He's like, can I get a ride? And he's like, yeah, maybe I'll take you out, in a little bit. And he's like, after you make sex with my sister or something like, or it's like after you do sex or something like that.
I'm going to have sex with her tomorrow.
But yeah, so he's a singular presence. I also love they do a montage of them going out on a date where they drive through the country, and then they're in like the Badlands, just like wide open desert as far as the eye can see. But then they're also like in a meadow, and they keep like their clothes keep coming on and off. Like he's shirtless, and then like the next scene he's got his full getup on, and then he's just wearing like a t-shirt, and then he's shirtless again. I'm like, what is this date? And the dad, when they get home, he's like, where have you been with my daughter? He's like, we're just out riding around. I'm like, for what, 12 hours?
Well, and on top of that, like, who goes to a beach like with their gym shoes on? That seemed kind of weird.
Again, well, maybe he didn't want to reveal his alien feet because he is not of this earth.
They could be purple or something. And maybe the actress's feet were like all messed up, and that's why she kept socks on like every time.
Now, I want to talk about this actress because, much like Michael Gross, I thought that, what was her name? Kristen Minter. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought she was great, and I haven't seen her in anything else. It turns out she's got quite IMDb credits list, a lot of like bit parts in TV and movies and stuff. But you know, she was the even though she's like the small town girl and like a 1990s female lead in a movie that's a vehicle for a rock star, she wasn't the kind of bubbly pushover. She wasn't the way Jane Foster was portrayed in the latest episode of What If, where she's a super scientist, but she like melts over, you know, Chris Hemsworth's abs. She gave as good as she got. And I could definitely, it felt like she was realistic in the way that she fell in love with this guy, because it's kind of like, you're obnoxious, but you're also cute. And the cute part, maybe that outweighs the obnoxiousness. I'm going to get to know you and find out that we kind of have similar interests. So it felt very genuine. And even the stuff with her father, again, I was thinking about, you know, Ione Skye and John Mahoney in Say Anything, and that kind of dynamic, not nearly as, that wasn't the focus of this movie, but the scenes that they shared together, I'm like, this is really good stuff. And then Vanilla Ice pops back up. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's the movie I'm watching.
She did a good job for the role that was written for her. I don't particularly agree that the love story was believable. The guy seemed like a weird kind of stalker creep. Like he kept randomly showing up to her house and then in her bedroom, and but you know,
but he was living right down the street from her. Like that, the hippie house was like 2 houses down or something.
That's true, but so I never like really knocked on anyone's front door and been like, "Yo, let's go on a ride."
Maybe you should try it, Mike. You should take notes from the Iceman, not the Dice Man, but I
should really learn all of his amazing musical skills with Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go. But then again, hey, he made that cash. He knows what he's doing. It's a little in the end that matters.
Speaking of knocking on the door, I love the sound effects in this movie, because like when he knocks on the door, first he doesn't knock, he just slams his fist in the top of the door frame, and that's his, you know, hey, I'm here. But there's also that little kind of like the record scratch, and that shows up when one of the crooked cops, like the first time we see the tall one, you know, in the, you know, out hanging outside the car, he pulls a little pistol out of his belt and there's a cartoon pop sound. I'm like, what? He's like
nobody took this seriously. Everyone's like, look, how much we making? I don't know, put in the pop sound.
It's almost like revenge sound editing.
And then the father, I had trouble buying him as like this guy, like what was he, like an ex-cop or something like that, and he angered other ex-cops, or they mob guys? But he's just like, listen, I got in trouble with the law because we need something to happen in this plot, and we need to have a reason for you to be here. Like that's what it felt like when he was given the exposition dump, like in the middle. And I'm like, wait, this super nerdy white guy is like this ex-cop. Like, could you see this guy working the beat anytime soon? Like that guy would get killed instantly.
Well, but here's the thing: maybe this whole misadventure saved him from getting killed, because I buy him as well. I have to look at the timeline here, because he said that this all happened right before she was born. So she's like 18. She's a senior in high school. So it was like 20 years ago. He's probably in his mid 40s. So I can see him as like this 22-year-old kid fresh on the force. It's like his first year, and he gets embroiled in this corruption thing. So he didn't have time to become a hardened cop. Plus, I don't know if they specified where he was a cop. If it's like, you know, I was doing the hard streets of Omaha, Nebraska, you know, he's not going to make it in New York, but he might, you know, someplace a little more rural. What I thought was amazing was the way the crooked cops found him. Was they happened to be watching the same TV broadcast where they were profiling the daughter's achievements and, like, you know, scholarships and going off to college. And then the dad was off to the side. I love that he really didn't want to be on camera. So because he's in the witness protection program. So he's like hiding his face off to the side. But we see the crooked cop in the bar, the Joe Pesci guy, watching the news, and he sees this, and that's how he recognizes him. Now, he and his partner didn't have any idea where this family had relocated to. So they've been looking for them for years, or like just waiting for them to resurface. So either they happen to be in the same small town as this witness relocated family, or they're in like New York or something, because it looked like a seedy bar. It didn't look like a kind of bar that would be in this town. why are they watching a local news broadcast about some like high school? It's not like the Today Show. It's like, Omaha 6 News or something.
Well, and if you ever, it seems like a continuing trend with movies even today. If you need a shady character or someone who's roughing from the streets, they'll have a New York accent. It doesn't matter if he's like in the middle of Omaha, Nebraska. He'll have a New York accent for no reason. He's like, oh, that's the bad guy that they had to, that's in trouble with the law. But yeah, they don't understand. Like the guy could have been a New York cop for all we know, but like none of this stuff is established because none of it really matters. It's just you're just supposed to enjoy the ride,
and
whether
enjoy
it's on the bike or
I did. And I wish that I could have taken a ride on that bike. Not to drive it because I'm afraid, but I would ride on the back of it. You bring up something great. Has there been a movie, and there probably has been because there's been a million movies, but like I don't know why we keep honing in on Omaha, but so sorry any Nebraskans out there who are offended, but like if there was like an Omaha, like a Nebraska mafia where it wasn't like anybody came from Chicago, New York, or Nevada. They just like grew up. They were like farmers and they had their own organization. What would they sound like?
they probably sound like people in Fargo or something. Oh yeah, I'm gonna you better give me the effing money. Yeah.
I wonder, would the locals be intimidated by that, or would they be, because you got like, hey, give me the money,
Nebraska,
punk.
would be.
Yeah, well, but I can take like a Tony Soprano accent seriously because it sounds menacing, but Farmer Ted, I don't think I could take him seriously unless he had me like strapped to a backhoe. I did love that at the end, spoilers for anyone who for some reason hasn't watched this amazing film, the bad guys, when they're captured by Johnny and his gang and brought to the police, it's a total like Batman capture where they're tied to the hood of a moving car and they pull in and they're taken into custody. Loved it.
And then they had a scene where like there's the little kid in the chair and they have like a flashlight to him. You know what it reminded me of? You ever see Ransom? It reminded me of the scenes where they had the kid in the bed in Ransom. And then Gary Sinise has a mask on, and he like says, I'll kill you. Remember to support your troops.
I saw Ransom once, and it was exactly 26 years ago on opening night in November.
Yeah.
And the only thing I remember about it is Mel Gibson in the trailers yelling, "Give me back my son!"
Yeah, and then and Delroy Lindo. That was my first introduction to him. And I just like every time I see that movie, I'm like, isn't that the cop from Ransom who like stops a shootout and just lets Mel Gibson go about the streets, although he like shot some dude in the middle of the street? Like every time I see Delroy Lindo, I just imagine like, no.
Hey, have you ever seen Get Shorty?
No.
The John Travolta movie.
No, does he play a cop in that too?
No, he plays a hitman,
or
like some kind of like an enforcer.
Character in Malcolm X too. Like he was kind of like a drug pusher, and then he like.
No, I was talking about Travolta.
Delroy Travolta's a hitman in another movie too. He's like Assault on Precinct 13. He's like a terrorist in it or something like that.
The Taking of Pelham 13 or something.
Taking of Pelham 13, yeah.
I think. But no, watch Get Shorty. If I don't know, are you a fan of movies about movies?
Oh yeah.
Then you got to watch.
I do remember it though. That was 2000s, right?
No, it was like 95, 96.
Okay, I'm thinking of something else with Travolta. That's a movie about making movies. So like a really bad sequel to another movie.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Stay Cool.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the sequel to Get Shorty.
That's why I'm getting confused. Yeah.
And I gotta say,
I remember editing like Roger's review on it, and I'm like, I'm never gonna see this movie.
Well, that's the thing is, Stay Cool is an abomination, especially as a sequel to Get Shorty, which is a wonderful movie. But Delroy Lindo, he plays like a criminal in that who wants to break into the business. But yeah, he's so cool in that movie. Yeah.
I wish they did more with Sidney Lasik's character other than like turning someone's motorcycle into a tricycle. I kind of like, I don't know, maybe I just expected him to have like another like crazy mental breakdown, like in the middle of the movie. He'd be like, oh yeah, say it again, I feel so good. I know it makes it sound like he's having an orgasm, but like whenever he like agreed with something in that movie, he kind of looked like he was, or he was constipated. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a weird family. They only like the gang only kind of stayed in one part of the house. I imagine if they wandered off into the wrong room, they would have found like skins of other visitors, hanging up to dry.
That's one of their skins. But yeah, that was yeah, I don't know. Like what I'm trying to think of anything else I can think about the movie other than like the cinematography, the weird sense of pacing. Because like how many montages did this film have? Like this might have topped Rocky 4 in terms of montages, because Rocky 4 had about like 6 montages in it when I counted. This might have had even more than that.
Yeah, but again, it's not a criticism, or it
Yeah,
shouldn't be,
they're
because
interludes. Yeah.
well, all the montages are amazing, whether it's a randomly placed dance video, or the whole like dating thing where they're in all these different locations in various states of undress. Yeah, I think it all works. I do want to talk a bit about, did you stay to the very very end credits?
No, I had enough.
Mike, you're letting me down here, man.
It was like 3, 4 in the morning. I'm like, okay, do I really need to lose more sleep over Cool as Ice?
Two things. At the very end, the last thing you see is credits wise is a weird arrow, like a white arrow pointing to the words "Be cool, stay in school," and it's the letter B, KOOL, stay, the letter N, and then SKOOL.
That's a wonderful way to teach students literacy.
Yes.
Hey,
And
stay in school. Let's play it. Let's spell this improperly.
And I don't have it on good authority that this was the first post-credit stinger, but I like to think that it is. I like to think that all great things sprung from Cool as Ice, but there's actually a post-credit stinger in this movie.
I want to see Vanilla Ice and Howard the Duck in an episode of What If now.
What up, Duck? You weird. No, but no, at the very end, and it's the quickest thing ever. It's literally a blink and you'll miss it. It's like a half second of Vanilla Ice and Cat on the bike. He's like given a thumbs up or something and like a wink, and then it just like disappears. I'm like, what was it? Looks like a mistake.
He gave her a thumbs up and a wink, like, hey, we're gonna bang again or something. Like,
no, it's like they're on the bike and she's like over his shoulder or something. He's like, hey, and then like boom.
Who knows? That's why I love this. It's endlessly funny entertainment where you say, why is this happening? And then you know what? You could stop asking that, but it's not fun if you stop asking that. It's more fun to just question what is going on, see it with a few friends, in a COVID safe environment. If you're all vaccinated and you're not jerks, then you're having a good time. You can have a few beers, some other substances, who knows, and watch Cool. Because man, talk about a movie you can watch on. So it is so colorful. Like it is a great, I'm not advocating drug abuse, but I am. So if you want to watch this show,
well, that's the thing is, it made me. I was 13, almost 14 when this movie came out, so I wasn't really into Vanilla Ice or like hip hop culture or any of this stuff. I was a little bit too young for that, at least by my standards. So I kind of got to find out what the fascination was. And the movie is so very colorful. The characters' outfits, like Johnny, his entire gang had these amazing, like big leather, colorful outfits. I'm like, where is that today? Like,
yeah.
And the music is so much fun. I mean, yeah, you can give Vanilla Ice crap because he's a white rapper. I wonder if we would have had Eminem had it not been for Mr. Ice a few years earlier. But I caught some of the lyrics to the songs that he was rapping, and they're just like ridiculous and fun, and there's some really great disses in there. But it's so, I don't know what if people just think it's hokey or inauthentic or whatever, but Mr. Robert Van Winkle had skills, because you can't, not everyone can just get up to the microphone and A, talk very fast, B, sing a song that has like 3,000 words in it and not screw up and be entertaining. So there's a real charisma and a power to it that I can't believe I'm saying this about Vanilla Ice.
Well, the thing was they are kind of 80-yard, but at the same time, writing music stuff, even if it's music I'm not particularly a fan of, I don't think I Love You is going to go down in history as one of the greatest, but it should.
History has a long arc, Mike.
Yes, it does. And as we've learned through Disney, nostalgia never dies away. It comes back in waves. And we'll see how good those waves are by the time Spider-Man comes around. But I'm excited for it. Everyone's not excited, but I'm like, man, if they pull this off, this is gonna be like an Olympic backflip level of performance and storytelling. But chances are, we'll see. It might be a 7 out of 10.
I was gonna say, I agree with you. If they pull it off, it could be phenomenal. But my hopes are fading. At this point, I think
theories of how the movie will play out. It'll probably play out like Doctor Strange, where it's like a crazy acid trip, where they're just going to throw a bunch of stuff at you, but they'll keep it focused on the main characters. If they do that, then you're good, and have Toby be like a mentor to. Anyways, I'm going off on a thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you're describing Into the Spider-Verse almost, like a live action version of that.
This is live action Spider-Verse, you know. And I mean, unfortunately. Audiences like to see things live action rather than cartoon because it still wows you, to see that when you mix animation with practical effects and, real life actors, it's far more fascinating than seeing, as wonderfully drawn as a cartoon is, it's like, it's not physically there, so there's sort of a detachment to it.
I agree with you to a point. But I would also say that like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was one of the most visually impressive things I'd ever seen, and I'm so glad that I went to see it in a theater, because if I had waited to watch it at home, I would have felt like I cheated myself. But okay, so I think to wind things up or down or however here, is Cool as Ice awful? Is it great, or is it just somewhere in between?
Cool as Ice is one of those movies that, again, I don't use the word guilty pleasure either, because you like something, it's fun. So you know what? I love this Jackass series, right?
Yes.
I love CKY. There are some sketches I love to repeat in there that you can only see in CKY. Just fast forward through the skateboarding stuff.
I don't know what CKY is.
That's pre-Jackass.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also, if you want to look at some of Vanilla Ice's later stuff, from his appearance to the Surreal Life, calling Ron Jeremy a backstabber and trashing the set, to I think singing maskless at like a Trump event, to what was the other thing you got to see his heavy metal rendition of Ice Ice Baby.
Whoa.
He has kind of an interesting career as a public figure, and this movie is sort of it's really a great sort of time machine into like what it was like when I was a kid, and like the things that I considered that was stupid and lame, or still do, like was in there. Like I never thought this stuff was cool even when I was a kid, but maybe there were kids who did, but you could see like, oh wow, the 90s were a much lighter, happier time. Or maybe it's my nostalgia lens seeing it that way.
Yeah, I feel like most adults that I know, they look back on when they were kids as like a nostalgic period. I think it's just because growing up kind of sucks. But that's the thing to kind of really wrap things up here.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen the alternate universe version where Vanilla Ice was not a rapper. He was just a guy who wanted to get into acting, because I think in this movie, he's got a presence. As weird as he is, I look at him and I can't not look at him. He's very handsome. He's got this confidence and this swagger, and beyond just like where he does that weird thing with his eyebrow, like the proto rock thing. And I feel like there is the ability to deliver a good, earnest performance somewhere in there. So what if he had just, become like Brad Pitt or something, like showing up as these weird little bohunk parts, but then, could we have seen Academy Award nominee Robert Van Winkle in an alternate timeline?
Now that's something you could open up in the multiverse, you know. That's because you never know what someone's real talent is beyond, you know, what they're known for. You know, there's a lot of, but I mean, do I think he'd be an Oscar? No, I don't think he'd be an Oscar winner. I think he knows how to put on a good sort of persona and, you know, create something that's marketable with it, you know, but did it work like later on in his career? No, not so much, but he does keep it alive here and there however he can. I think he's performing what, in Naperville
This weekend, yeah.
Yeah, this weekend.
It's, and I'll actually, if anyone is in the area, I'll leave a link down below to the, I can't, it's like Naper Music Fest or something like that. He's going to be there, I understand, with Smash Mouth and the Village People, according to Annie Banks.
Yeah, I kind of want to go to that now. That sounds so like, this is when I was a kid kind of moment.
Well, Mike, if you do go, first of all, I want you to get up on stage like you did apparently one time when you were drunk. Tell that story real quick, because I don't know if everyone heard it.
I'm glad you reminded me of this because I almost forgot to tell it. Vanilla Ice was performing in Lakeview, like in Wrigleyville. I think they had Wrigley Field or something close by, closed down. And, you know, I was like in my 20s, and Vanilla Ice was performing that night, and a friend of mine messaged me and asked me if I wanted to come see Vanilla Ice at this thing. And I'm like, yes, I do, because he has no idea about my Vanilla Ice. I do need to cut out some of the nudity in the I Love You video if I find it, but because there's like a shot of him and Madonna, like when she did the Book of Sex in there.
Whoa.
Yeah. But good stuff. But
so you went to see Vanilla Ice.
He's doing his catalog of songs, stuff that he said like, oh, that's not me, I don't like that stuff anymore, I'm heavy metal now, but yet he did, I think he did do Ice Ice Baby, but it was the heavy metal rendition where it's more like Ice Ice Baby. I can't do it, but look up the clip. And then at a certain point he sang Go Ninja Go, and then he brought a bunch of people onto the stage, and I was in the front, and I grabbed him by the hand and he pulled me up. I just started like dancing and pounding my head to it. And then when I was done, my friend and all his other friends were gone. I never heard from him again. So but you know what?
That's their loss.
Initially, I felt like, wow, I shouldn't have done that. I was being a jackass. But now I look back and I'm like, no, he's a stingy person. He could have been cool with it. He could have been like, dude, you just danced with Vanilla Ice. That's crazy.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Vanilla Ice was stingy. I'm like, he put you on stage.
My friend was stingy. Vanilla Ice was cool. I mean, outside of the politics stuff, but you know,
well, I was gonna say, I'm glad you recounted that story. And also, if you do happen to find your place in Naperville, get up to the front and ask him why the hell his manager never wrote me back. Because folks out there for the podcast, I did reach out to Vanilla Ice's representation to see if he wanted to come on and talk about 30 years of Cool as Ice. You know, he ghosted me, if that's the right word. Yeah.
So I should bring up how I got drunk and danced with him on Lakeview, and I'll do it again and live stream it.
Yeah, and you know, maybe if you get up on the stage, you can ask him some questions about, you know, what it was like to work with the lovely Kristen Minter and and that LASIK surgery guy or whatever his name is.
Yeah, but Annie and I can interview him. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. She's planning to be there too. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Although here's the thing, if you guys get an exclusive interview with Vanilla Ice, I will never speak to you again. No.
I mean, always aim high, Ian.
Was that shoot for the stars? Because even if you don't succeed, you'll land in the clouds. But anyway, I feel that I just want to end this by saying, I want to read this poster. When a girl has a heart of stone, there's only one way to melt it. Just add ice. Yes, you melt something by adding ice.
And don't ask people what fire and ice is. Just Google it.
Is that like a thing that I could get fired for?
Well, in a particular area, you feel fired.
Yeah. Anyway, Mike, thank you for helping me.
On that, I always like to make it as awkward as possible.
Thanks for helping me inaugurate this this maybe series that will. I've got a couple other movies I'd like to talk to you about, but before the end of
I
the
got
year.
some gems. Oh gosh, wait.
All right.
Moonwalker. We gotta do Moonwalker.
I've been on
I've
this.
never seen it, but
I've
I
never
had the video game.
I've
Yeah.
never seen it either, but I've been on this weird jag where every morning I listen to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. It's been like a week. I don't know if you've ever seen the video for that. It's amazing because he doesn't actually show up in it. It's all like archival footage of like people around the world going through tragedy and then triumph. It's really cool. But anyway, that's just, I got problems. Anyway, Mike, you'll probably agree. I agree. This was a lot of fun. Thank you very much. And we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Ian. And we'll wait. Why am I signing off for you? Bye.
Bye.